Hi, I am Alana Bree. I am a pediatric dermatologist, and I'm also the executive director of a children's house for the soul that supports the social and emotional aspects of skin disease. And that's why we're here today. We're going to be talking about the medical and the physical aspects of skin conditions and birthmarks, but also the social and emotional impacts that are sometimes even more important.
For chronic conditions, especially with children, parents really like when doctors take the time to hear you and not just, hear you, but listen to you and know what you're struggling with and how they can meet your needs and how to best help manage it. I've had instances with other dermatologists where they're very swift in and out. It's like she's just a number, and that doesn't feel good, especially, that's your child, So you want someone that truly cares and sees you and wants to help and not just, okay, that's it, next, here's the next steroid cream, all right, next patient. That's hurtful.
The mental health part of it starts at the diagnosis. The self-esteem, the living with it starts at the diagnosis.
With a 6-year-old, you can create their entire experience with it. So my pediatrician was very honest with me very early on because I was taking it pretty hard. And he said, whatever you make of this, she's going to accept that attitude. So write her story.
You should approach the child with an uplifting attitude and a mental capacity to say, you're going to be okay, look them straight in the eye, don't stare, and just be happy for them and see this as an uplifting sort of experience in their lives.
There's no cause, there's no good treatment, there's no cure, but if you want to try some things, do it. And I think every parent kind of has to exhaust those possibilities, either physically or mentally, and make their peace with the fact that most of these treatments don't work for most of these kids. If the treatment's worse than the disease, why are you doing it? You should empower the child, empower the family, educate.
There's this idea that your skin is just your skin. Even when I was working at the hospital, I had this idea that it was, I regret to even say that it was really not a big deal. But when you look at these kids and you look at living in the community every day with the impact of having folks ask them questions, having their peers ask them questions, or even being different, there is a major impact. And so I think with a Children's House for the Soul, one of the things that we're really trying to help with is that social and emotional impact, and educating medical professionals and people who see these kiddos day in and day out that we need to address the whole child.
Our children that have skin conditions, or adults that have skin conditions, they're wearing their disease. It's very visible. They can never forget about it because they see it in the mirror. Other people look at them and see it, so they can never really escape. And we need to touch their skin and let them know they're okay and that you're comfortable with them. Because as a physician, you can't give this child everything they need that's in front of you. That's a silly thought as well. You can't. There's only so much of you. But when we build a community around these people, that's what they need. And if we can be a little small part of that, that's amazing. We've had a struggle finding good medical professionals that want help, that are knowledgeable enough to help, and that can help us.
So she put me up against the wall, made me close my eyes, and pull my arms out like this to take pictures of me, not like I wasn't a real person, just like I was there for display.
She was very disconnected from her patients immediately, from us. Immediately when she walked in, it was like, okay, what are you here for? This was our 8th doctor, by the way, that we saw. And so Emily and I think we were both a little nervous, thinking, guys, just another doctor. She asked Emily how old she was and what grade she was in and what her favorite, did she like sports, what her favorite activities were. I don't think for about 10 minutes we even talked about a skin condition, because Emily is not just a patient. She's not just a kid coming in for a prescription that you can write off and forget about in 3 months. I mean, no kid is like that.
one thing that I've recognized a lot with our community is a lot of people think that they should tell their child or their, even adults, shh, don't ask about that, stop staring, don't look at them. And instead, we kind of create this mystery around these skin conditions when we act like that. Like, don't look, don't ask. That kids then are more curious because you've made it this interesting, fantastic secret as to why, that their skin has some white spots or that they're missing some hair and some spots. And we increase the interest and we increase sort of a stigma.
When doctors address more than just the medical piece of it, because it's great to have the treatment. It's great to find out what updates are out there to help maybe for those who want a cure, but there are those who still have to live with it day to day. So when doctors know that there are support groups out there, they can refer their patients to the support group and they are able to direct their patients to have a whole healthy life, because it's not just, like I said, the outside, it's the inside that we have to deal with as well.
I think we just need more education about how significant skin conditions can be, birthmarks, skin conditions, and there are many studies that show the increased risk of suicide, the increased risk of depression, the increased risk of anxiety among our patients because they are wearing their disease. They have no opportunity to get away from it. And I think sometimes that's not valued among the medical community, unfortunately. We are here to advocate for our patients and give them the best possible care. And I do think when you devalue that patient and they hear that it's just eczema, they feel all alone. They feel like they have nobody to turn to help them. And that's the last thing we want as physicians. We want to make a difference. We want to help people. And I think we have to remember that skin disease is a true disease and it has many implications.
I feel like if you're a student, you should come in with like ready to listen, and learn more than going in there and being like, I'm gonna say this and more understand how the person's feeling about it rather than seeing them for their skin condition. I think that's a huge thing.
Dermatologists usually don't see EI ichthyosis patients very often. They're excited in not the best ways sometimes. And I understand, that it's something new that they want to explore and dig into. And sometimes they forget that there's a person behind that skin. Can we first build a relationship so that I can trust you so then we can take the picture? That would be better. I can only imagine how exhausting it must be to be day in and day out with people that need you, that have problems and looking at you to fix it. And it's going to be draining. But somehow I would encourage everybody to figure out a way to refill their kindness cup.
The connection that they should make with their patients, with the kids, and with the parents even. The parents' experience, I understand that a doctor goes to school and they have a lot of knowledge, but it's not 24/7 care that a parent has with the child. And if they work together to find solutions, that they can make such a bigger difference, and not just medically, emotionally.
You need to be in touch with your patients. You can't properly treat the children if you don't know them. You can't help somebody if you don't know who they are, understand them, or sympathize with them.
We went from doctor to doctor to doctor. And I think the hardest thing as a parent is knowing that your child is suffering and miserable and not being able to help him. He would be running around the house screaming that he was on fire. It just affected so much. He couldn't sleep. He was maybe averaging an hour of sleep a night because he would toss and turn. He had blood covered on his sheets every morning.
If I could have traded places with him, I'd have did it in a heartbeat, because a little kid shouldn't have to suffer through so much that he's been through. So I mean, you just feel hopeless.
I felt like doctors were not listening to us as the parents, but to live in it day in and day out of the wet wraps and the, bleach baths and the changing of the sheets every single day and, just constant work on our end to help him. I would constantly say to myself, if a doctor would just come live in our house for one night.
Here I am, 6 years old. They don't even explain to me, say, hey, we're going to do this or this. They say, can you stand up? And they pull out a Polaroid camera and start taking some Polaroids different ways, close-ups. And that was it. It's almost like the whole reason that I was there for was forgotten. But to them, it was just another interesting case of something they hadn't seen in a long time. Treat them how you'd want to be treated, really.
I don't like the pictures, particularly when I'm a brand new patient. They come into the door and the first thing that they ask is, can I take a picture of you? I understand it's for academic purposes and learning and whatnot, but it turns me off. It's like I put a front because you want to take a picture of my skin rather than treating me.
As a pediatric dermatologist, I always say it's really easy for me to write a prescription for a cream or to do a laser procedure or to do a surgery. But what I've learned over the years is that it really is the person inside that you're treating. You're not treating a genetic mutation. You're not treating a skin disease. You're treating a human being that has feelings and emotions and a family that loves them and doesn't want them to go through any trauma. And when you address that social and emotional piece, you're not only helping your patients, but you're helping yourself as a physician. We all want to be heard. We all want to be seen for who we are. And I think really, if we can really help each other, the world's going to be a better place. Our patients are going to be better. We're going to be better as physicians.
We need more doctors to understand the severity of this and that this is not just a little itch on the elbow. This is not just a little, open sore, that it is time that we all come together and try and truly understand how can we help this child.
One thing that I would love for doctors and medical professionals to know, if you work, primarily with adults, or if you work in an area of the country where there aren't a lot of social emotional supports for these kids, A, Google, let's help them find out about them, and B, help them find the words, encourage them to find the words to demystify the community around them, instead of encouraging them to hide it, or instead of encouraging those around them not to ask about it, because that really has the opposite effect.
His issue is just he's wearing it on his face, literally. So it has more emotional distress involved than maybe some illnesses, I think. It wasn't the diagnosis. The diagnosis was correct for the most part, but it was, what you need is, at that point, as new parents, is direction on what does this mean to us.
Sometimes doctors, I think, need to realize that their patients, and maybe in this case, when it's a child, the patient's parents, we're human too. And, we're not just another case. And that, the feelings are big and real and create a bunch of emotion and questions upon, the initial diagnosis, especially when it's a big diagnosis.
I knew in my heart going into that appointment that is what he was going to be diagnosed with, but actually hearing it confirmed, I just burst into tears. We had been to geneticist and we had seen the pediatrician and the pediatric dentist, and everybody had told us all the scary things, and we had no idea what the future looked like. And when we met Dr. Bree, and she confirmed, yes, okay, he does have this, but you're going to take precautions and you're going to live a normal, happy life. And us hearing those words what made us be able to finally breathe again and say, okay, we can do this. We'll figure out what we need to do, what works best for Maverick. We'll get him the best medical attention he needs, and we'll kind of just go on about our lives.
Well, people have bullied me. I just like, so what? And sometimes I'll just like respond like, I would talk about God and stuff, how he made us, and he made you a certain way, he made me a certain way. He made me with hypohidrotic ectodermal.
Connecting with your patient on a personal level is really important. It doesn't take that long to sit down in a chair, to look your patient in the eye, and to let them know that you care about them. Just setting that rapport with them right from the minute you walk in the room. Yes, you have all these charts to complete, but in the end, you are in that room with that patient. You're given a privileged opportunity.
I don't think I have to fix it. And it's not something that is wrong with me.
He was seen and loved, and in return, we felt seen and loved, and that's a big deal. It makes all the difference.
Be beautiful in your own way.
And I love the change how you see how you change. I think we all need to think that way, because I think the world would be a much better place if we all did. If we could all change how we see.